The Audible with Mike Pendleton is live now.
Indeed it is. What's up, guys? Welcome into the Under the Hood Network with Jonathan Hood. I am Mike Pendleton. This is the Audible with Mike Pendleton, a brand new league-wide NFL talk show that we will be bringing to you every Tuesday and Thursday throughout the 2026 NFL season. Maybe once in a while we'll sprinkle in some college football. First and foremost, let me introduce myself. My name is Mike Pendleton, as you can see all over the place here. I am a longtime diehard Bears fan. I currently cover the Bears for Bears Wire, a part of USA Today Sports Media Group, as well as an analyst on Coach and Company, part of BTT Studios, every single day. I also cover MMA, courtesy of SureDog, most of my focus being on the Professional Fighters League and some UFC. I host a combat sports show called Fight Time with Mikey P, which is myself, over on BTT Studios, as well as my co-host Leah Dorchinez over there. But my bread, butter, passion, and blood is all football all the time. You're not going to come here and just get Chicago Bears talk. You're simply not. Here at UTH, at Under the Hood, you already have plenty of Bears talk. So I'm not going to force feed you more. Here you're going to get gambling lines. Maybe you'll get some fantasy football advice every single week. We will have interviews moving forward. This show is to help you and everyone, whether you're a general, casual football fan or an extreme diehard. If we've got to pivot and move, there's only one thing we can do, and that's called the Audible with Mike Pendleton. So first and foremost, I want to thank every single one of you. If you can, please follow me on X at MP2310 and on Instagram, Mike P2310. I want to take this opportunity to thank the one and only Jonathan Hood, who you can hear every single day, along with David Kaplan, Monday through Friday on ESPN 1000, ESPN Chicago, a longtime mentor and friend of mine giving me this opportunity, and I am so excited for it. So let's go. Episode 1 of the Audible. Hot. It is time to go. And what are we doing in college football and in the NFL? The big news this week, this entire week, on Tuesday, August 25th, we are discussing college football players going to the NFL and then going back to college football because the NFL did not work out. Now, we know the new rules, the 5-for-5 rules, 5 years of eligibility for all players. And there have been players like now officially former Cleveland Browns tight end, Daquan Wright, who worked out with the Browns, spent training camp with the Browns. He was waived today. He had until September 1st to get waived. He was waived today, August 25th, clearing the way. He went unclaimed on waivers. Shocking. And he is now the first ever football player to go from the NFL back to college football. It's a messy situation. It's one that, if I was the parties involved, meaning Daquan Wright, meaning LSU head coach Lane Kiffin, I'm not proud of it. This isn't something that you look around and go, yeah, we were the first. And for Lane Kiffin, if you just circle the calendar back, not even a full 365 days, Lane Kiffin has been all over the college football landscape in the better part of 2026. It's always been about Lane Kiffin this year. So if I'm Daquan Wright, if I'm Lane Kiffin, I'm not proud of it. I'm not ecstatic about it. When Lane Kiffin met with the media, he said, we recruited him because there are going to be other schools who did. Daquan Wright is not a guy who's going to take you from a mid-level SEC threat to a championship-level contender. So what is the mindset in having to be first? Now, there is familiarity. Wright did play with Kiffin at Ole Miss. That makes sense, and I'm okay with that. But the larger topic of conversation here is on Lane Kiffin. You didn't need to be first. You didn't have to be the first coach to get a guy to come back, because that's quite honestly embarrassing. And when you look at what LSU is capable of, and I do think they'll be a very good program this year. Side note, I used to love LSU. I'm on the fence about them now. I might be open for the taking in my college football fanhood this year because, quite simply, I didn't like how Lane Kiffin handled the Ole Miss to LSU jump. And I understand it's college football. It can sometimes get ugly. So I was willing to look the other way. I'm not willing to look the other way here. It's it's just embarrassing. Like I try to think of all these, complex words and ways to this. It's just embarrassing. Because if LSU goes on to win, and let's say Daquan Wright in the national championship game has 2 touchdowns, 150 yards, and 9 catches, right? And he gets the game winner. Well, everyone's gonna say asterisk. Doesn't he shouldn't have been on your team. And when you think about it in that sense, because in today's social media world and in 2026 culture, you're never going to get praised as quickly as you're going to get criticized. And I believe that that's all LSU and Lane Kiffin is setting himself up for. And what about everybody else on the roster? And I think that's the biggest point we need to take away from this is what about that walk-on? My favorite part of college football growing up, and I'm in my mid-30s now, is when you get that walk-on who earns his scholarship. Sorry, Brad, we can't give you a scholarship because Daquan Wright came back. We know. You've been here for 3 years. We know that you missed your entire freshman season. You were injured. You've been here every single day. You helped clean up the field. Everything we've ever asked of you, Brad, you've gone and done it, and you deserve a scholarship. We had to make room for Daquan Wright. Sorry, man. That's just the breaks we're gonna have in college football this year. And college football used to be sacred. We always talk about the 1%, especially in football, right? The 1% of athletes who are good enough to make it to the pros. It is even wilder to think about how you could be a standout high school prospect and you could still only get maybe 3 or 4 scholarship offers. So to be part of the 1% in high school and then knowingly, hey, my dream's always been to be at the University of Tennessee or the Ohio State University, right? All of these places you could think of. But if they're handing out scholarships or even more importantly, forget the scholarship money because of NIL, forget all that, roster spots to guys who couldn't cut it in the NFL, you're simply a black cloud of embarrassment over college football. I like to live in a world where every opportunity is earned, not given. And if you go into the NFL draft or sign with a team, the moment that ink dries, so does your college eligibility. Simple as that. So I applaud the Big Ten who came out on Tuesday and said anyone who signs or participates at the professional level with an NFL team is ineligible to be on a Big Ten school. I love that. The problem we also have in college football is an identity crisis. The SEC is saying, we don't like it, but we understand it. The Big Ten is saying, absolutely no way. And then you have Texas Tech head coach and the whole debacle they had going on. He did an interview this week with Yahoo Sports where he said, I don't understand. You've got players leaving the NFL, coming back to school, and our quarterback can't play. Yeah, my man, because your quarterback bet on games in which he was a part of the team at his previous universities. You don't get it? Doesn't make sense to you? If we could get everyone in unison in college football, if we could truly get it to a point where everybody understands what is happening in college football, then I think we'll be in a much better place. We all have to come to an agreement. And I don't want to get into the legalities of everything, but when you look at how the NFL and college football and the chaos that has ensued between them, you look at the judges. And again, I don't have a law degree. I don't really care to discuss the legality side of it. But you have judges who are just signing off on these injunctions going, yeah, it makes sense. At some point, the adults in the room need to understand, like, hey, it's time that we actually focus on what's right and what's wrong. And this is what's wrong with college football. Right now, this is what's wrong with college football. And I hate it. And I feel like it should not be the topic of conversation, but it is, unfortunately. So until all these universities get on track and they all become together and get unified, and I do believe there's only one man, and his name is Nick Saban. Once Nick Saban gets a hold of college athletics, especially college football, we could put all this noise to rest. But for now, when we look at LSU, when we look at Lane Kiffin, here's just a message to Lane Kiffin. I know he'll never see this. I know he'll never know who I am. Sit it out. Just sit it out for once. You've been a part of every big movement, scandal, this, storyline, that. Sit one out. Daquan Wright wasn't going to change your program, and all he did was hurt your reputation, which was pretty damaged already. So that is my thoughts on the NFL players going back to school. And the conversation doesn't stop. I mean, this is the audible here because this is going to be hard hitting. I'm going to get fired up a lot. And when I get fired up, I want to let you guys know it's going to be fun because on Monday, the Cleveland Browns announced Deshaun Watson QB1. Yep. Last year, Cleveland Browns owner came out and said, we swung and we missed. Deshaun's not our franchise quarterback. Now he's suffered back-to-back torn Achilles. He's obviously got the off-the-field issues that plagued him for multiple years. And he's got a contract that no one, and now even furthermore, no one understands why he got what he got. And all that guaranteed money for a guy who's simply not who he once was, for a guy who is simply not worth that money, and a guy who doesn't even want to be there in Cleveland. So Todd Monken makes the call Monday to reporters. Deshaun Watson is QB1. When you look at everything that Deshaun Watson has embodied during his time with the Cleveland Browns, zero of it is good. The off-the-field issues, the character issues, and most importantly, hear me out, the level of play on the field has not lived up to franchise quarterback standards, yet everyone wants to give this guy a shot. Please explain to me why Deshaun Watson should get another chance in the NFL as a starting quarterback. Now, looking at how the preseason has gone, he's played awful. There's no other way to say it. Deshaun Watson has been awful this preseason for the Cleveland Browns. And to add insult to insulting play on the field, Deshaun Watson went out and basically took a shot at the entire city of Cleveland and the Browns fan base. So I can't understand the concept, and I know that I might be reaching here, but the only thing the Browns can do is start Deshaun Watson for 2 weeks because it is easier to go on the road, kind of separate your team from your fan base for those 2 weeks, and then say, we made a mistake. Week 3, Shedeur Sanders is our starting quarterback. If the Browns plan to start Shedeur Sanders in week 3 so that they can actually have asses in seats for their home opener, I'm okay with the Deshaun Watson news. It is going to be so much easier to go from Watson to Sanders than it would be Sanders to Watson. You have lost your fan base currently. This decision by Todd Monken, I don't even think it came from Todd Monken. I think it came from the powers that be upstairs. So there is definitely a disconnect between the front office, the general manager, and the head coach, and quite possibly the players on the team. How are you going to rally your team around Deshaun Watson? And the only guy in Cleveland who should be happy right now is Shedeur Sanders. Young man, you're going to have to do nothing but be yourself. Deshaun Watson will eventually just hand you the starting job on a silver platter. And if I'm wrong, then so be it. But I won't be, because Deshaun Watson has made a mockery of a franchise quarterback. Deshaun Watson has once again made a mockery of the Cleveland Browns, who have made a mockery of themselves. And Deshaun Watson has lost any sense of significance as an NFL starting quarterback. And now I look at one part of this NFL season that I couldn't contain myself. I couldn't hold it back. It's the NFL rivalry jerseys. They dropped today, August 25th. And I want to, while praising my team, because I was very, very skittish in the first leaks. I was like, that doesn't look good. But this year, as they introduced last year, the NFL is bringing back the rivalry edition jerseys. These jerseys will be used in games played between teams within the divisions. This year, it is the AFC South and the NFC North. So I have this picture here of these jerseys. Here they are right there. You can see all the jerseys that were released. Now, I love the Bears ones. I do. My problem comes in, where are and why are we using different teams' colors for the rivalry editions? Look right there, top left corner. The Houston Texans. I get it. Houston Oilers. I get all that. But the Tennessee Titans, more on them to come, they just changed their colors to the light blue, the white, and the red. That was their big rebranding this year. Robert Saleh at head coach, Cam Ward at quarterback, year number 2, Brian Dable, Carnell Tate. I'm tightened up this year. I love it. What are the Houston Texans doing, and why did Nike and the NFL sign off on that? Look at the Detroit Lions. They look like the Carolina Panthers. Why did they sign off on that? Never mind the Jacksonville Jaguars, by the way. That was a big one. Now the big thing about these rivalry jerseys, which are not pictured in here, are the helmets, right? The Jaguars have a teal helmet. The Chicago Bears have a orange helmet. I believe the Titans and I believe either the Lions or Texans also have light blue helmets. So it's all about helmet colors, and I get that. But you can't be ignorant of other teams, because even they're not going to play those games with those jerseys. But I just don't understand the concept. If you've never, ever understood the concept of the NFL rivalry jerseys, and you walk into a bar or to a friend's house during these games, you're going to say, what are the Tennessee Texan Oilers doing against the Indianapolis Colts? Because it doesn't make sense. The Minnesota Vikings, and I say this as a Bears fan, might be my favorite ones. They're clear, they're crisp, they're right to the point. You guys will find this out as well on the Audible here. I don't know what it is, but I'm a believer in the Tennessee Titans. So I absolutely love their Music City jerseys. Now, my critique on them would be that that's very similar to the colorway you just got rid of. Little different, but very similar. So again, decision makers. How could you go, let's go with the Houston Oilers colors? No one will notice. No one will notice. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, Tennessee, Houston, that whole thing, pretty sure it's going to be a topic of conversation. And this doesn't have to be for you. And that would be my other thing to say about the rivalry jerseys. You see them all there. I'm a fan of the Bears. I saw a lot of people that don't like them, and that's fine. But here's the thing about the NFL. Quite frankly, you're going to care today. You won't care tomorrow. And if your favorite player, if Cam Ward goes out and throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, No, no one's going to care. They're going to love the Music City jerseys. If CJ Stroud throws for 500 yards or Nico Collins puts up 200 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns, no one's going to care that they're the Houston, Tennessee, Texans, Oilers. No one's going to care. The NFL has a very good way, because they're so captivating, of making you forget about the things you were once upset about. Winning cures everything. Beautiful performance. In Chicago, if Caleb Williams and the Bears orchestrate another fourth quarter comeback while wearing the rivalry jerseys, which they'll play in on Christmas Day on Netflix against the Green Bay Packers, do you understand that that'll be the hottest item from Christmas Day through New Year's 2027? Hell, if the Bears go on a run, that might be the most popular Valentine's Day gift from women to men. So I'm a big fan of the NFL rivalry jerseys. Obviously, I like the Bears ones, and it's okay to not be a fan of them, but don't change your tone if your favorite player or your fantasy number one pick ends up balling out while wearing one of them, and then all of a sudden you're on board. Speaking of fantasy, a guy that is probably drafted very high in fantasy this year, Ashton Genty. He's probably one of the biggest injuries we're looking at heading into week 1. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting that Genty suffered a sprained ankle. It is believed to be more of a low than a high ankle sprain, which puts his availability in doubt for week 1, but it's not season ending. And the Ashton Genty injury to me is about 2 people. It's Mike Washington, his backup rookie, and Fernando Mendoza, the number 1 overall pick. If you enter the season and you're without one of your top playmakers, now the Raiders have Brock Bowers and they have Ashton Genty, and fill in the blanks along the rest of their skill positions at wide receiver. Trey Tucker is a name to watch, but it's Brock Bowers and it's Ashton Genty than everybody else. You're not selling me, if Genty has to miss multiple weeks, that Kirk Cousins is the guy. You're simply not. You look around, and if you already are down your best player to open the season, why not go Fernando? Why not start Fernando Mendoza? Now, the Raiders allowed the most sacks last year, 64. They brought in upgraded coaching staff, headlined by new head coach Clint Kubiak, who's supposed to be one of the best offensive play callers coming into a head coaching spot this year. So let's see. But I don't know what value and significance you get from keeping Fernando Mendoza on the bench, especially if Ashton Genty isn't playing. You're already down one of your most impactful players. Kirk Cousins doesn't make the Raiders a better team without Ashton Genty. Now, you could your defense could be, well, then why would Fernando be in? But he's got to learn at some point. How can you draft a guy, number 1 overall, and believe in him to be a franchise caliber guy if he doesn't go through adversity? Bad games, multiple sack games, multiple interception games, not having his best weapons available to him. I'm not saying allow Fernando Mendoza to suck. I'm saying allow him to live and go through adversity. Look at what the Titans went through with Cam Ward last year. And preseason, he's been bad with his new coaching staff. I will fully admit that. I look at Fernando Mendoza and I look at Cam Ward. Guys with very similar trajectories in terms of what they have available to them. They're not on good teams. They're not on playoff contending teams. And there's no one that is going to make their team better in front of them. Kirk Cousins doesn't make the Raiders a better team. Not in my opinion. I simply don't see it. So Ashton Genty's injury, I think, actually plays into what we could see. And Clint Kubiak has said it is still a quarterback competition. He is not named a starter yet, which leads me to believe Deshaun Watson's been named QB1. Kyler Murray's been named QB1. Well, damn, Clint Kubiak. Way to go and have an actual quarterback battle through 3 preseason games leading into the regular season. He didn't pull a Kevin O'Connell and name Kyler Murray right off the bat. He didn't pull a Todd Monken and go, I got to listen to the front office. It's Deshaun Watson. Let's have a full 3 weeks of quarterback competition before you actually name a starter. And I believe Fernando Mendoza should and will start sooner rather than later. Before I get out of here, and I want to thank you guys. You're watching the Audible, listening to the Audible, wherever you catch the Under the Hood shows and podcasts. Appreciate you all for checking in. Make sure to follow me on socials, on X at MP2310 and on Instagram at MikeP2310. Before I get out of here, one thing I did say we will be introducing is betting and fantasy football. So for today, I want to give you guys three team total overs that I love and 3 team total unders that I love. And it was a little bit challenging because I didn't want to come off as biased. I'm going to start with the 3 team total overs that I love. And I'm going to start in Carolina. The NFC South was won with an 8-9 record last year. Do we all remember that debacle? It was the Carolina Panthers. I like the Carolina Panthers this year. I think they made a lot of defensive upgrades. Devin Lloyd might be one of the more underrated moves in this year's free agency. They brought in Jalen Phillips. I really do believe the Panthers defense, which is very underrated, is going to be one of the better parts about them that no one's looking at coming into this season. But on the other side, if Bryce Young can continue his development, I think you're not looking at a superstar quarterback, but you're looking at a very, very good quarterback if he can continue his development. That's the key here. And they have weapons. They do have the weapons. Tet McMillan, Jalen Coker, Xavier Legette. And then in the backfield, you have Chuba Hubbard. You also have Jonathan Brooks. This is a guy who I believe will take over the starting role in that backfield midway through the season. Jonathan Brooks coming off of 2 torn ACLs, but he's looked good. He's gotten run in the preseason, and I like this Carolina Panthers team. So even if they finish under 500, they may have a chance to win the whole division, and I like them to win at least 8 games. So over 7.5 on the Carolina Panthers. And then let's talk about a team that has been showing out in the preseason. I think we're coming into an era where we may not understand what is actually happening. That is the Dallas Cowboys. Their line set at 9.5. I'm hammering the over. I think the Dallas Cowboys are one of the biggest threats to the Los Angeles Rams in the NFC. I truly believe that the Dallas Cowboys have a formidable team to make a run to the Super Bowl. Look at the offense. Javonte Williams had one of the greatest seasons of his career, if not the greatest season of his career. And then you have George Pickens, who just stayed quiet and balled out with and without CeeDee Lamb. There are so many playmakers for quarterback Dak Prescott at his expense and what he has available to him. But then look at the defense. Kenny Clark, Quinnen Williams, Rashawn Gary. There are a lot of pieces to like on the Dallas Cowboys defense. Did I mention Caleb Downs? Quite possibly the best player in the 2026 NFL draft, falling to them at 11. Caleb Downs is going to be a playmaker week in and week out for the Dallas Cowboys. I think they can sweep the Commanders. I think they can sweep the Giants. And I think they can split with the Philadelphia Eagles. That's 5 wins right there. So you're giving me them at 9.5? I'll take it. I'll take it easily. And this is not hot take central, but this is just where I'm at. This is what I feel. The team that I love the most, the team whose over I'm going to hammer harder than any other team coming into the 2026 season, the Cincinnati Bengals. Before you go, whoa, this guy's doing over 10.5 for the Cincinnati Bengals? I am. That defense, massively upgraded. Joe Burrow, healthy. Offensive line, upgraded. There's a case to be made. There's not any other team in the NFL with more playmakers than the Cincinnati Bengals. And not even just the level of playmakers that they have or the depth of playmakers they have, but how about the elite talent? T. Higgins could be a wide receiver 1 on, I would say, 29 other teams. And he's wide receiver 2 for the Cincinnati Bengals. If Joe Burrow stays healthy, the Cincinnati Bengals not only hit their over of 10.5, they win the AFC North. They contend with, wait for it, not the Buffalo Bills, but the Kansas City Chiefs, who I also love this year in the AFC Championship game. Those two teams will vie out for a Super Bowl spot in the 2026 season. There's a little early prediction for you. We will give a full prediction on Thursday's show, but I'm hammering the Bengals over. I love sexy Dexter Lawrence. I love all of the moves that they have made over the past 2 seasons to right the wrongs on their defense. It comes down to Joe Burrow's health, and it comes down to the offensive line protecting him. Those go hand in hand. Those are my overs. Those are the team total overs that I love. And these are, I hate to say it, the team total unders that I love. Now, I know. I know where people are going to go with this. He's just a Bears fan. So these first two make the most sense. The Detroit Lions are my first team. 10.5. I do not like the Lions at 10.5. I like them to win at most 10 games. The problem I have with the Detroit Lions is the man on the sidelines, Dan Campbell. And yes, last year, it's hard. It's hard to lose your offensive coordinator. It's hard to lose your defensive coordinator, both in the same offseason, and try to keep your place at the top. I completely understand that. They traded away David Montgomery. They have Brian Branch coming off a serious injury. Terrion Arnold, for his legal issues, was cut from the team. They didn't add significant weapons, in my opinion, that make me feel like the Lions are just going to right their wrongs in 2026. On top of that, Dan Campbell's questionable decision-making each and every single week is what makes me believe this team is going to miss their mark. So I'm under on the Detroit Lions. 10 wins, I believe they can get to it, but I could see a 9 or 8 win season in the Motor City. Now, staying with someone who's familiar in the NFC North, I'm going to the AFC North and the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's nice. It's actually beautiful. It brings a tear to my eye. Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy reunited. One more year, he says. He says, 1 more year, I'm going to do this thing at quarterback. That's what Aaron Rodgers said. It's not going to matter. It's not going to mean much. Aaron Rodgers has always been about the man in the mirror. At some point, a losing streak will happen, which will then lead to chemistry issues between him and Mike McCarthy, which will then sour everyone else on the team. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not a team I believe in. They're a team that I believe has found their future quarterback in Drew Aller when given the opportunities. But in order for the Steelers to really set a precedent for their future, they're going to have to really go through it, and I think they go through it this year. So their number at 8.5, I'm taking them on the under. 8 is a stretch in my opinion. I like them to win 6 or 7 games this year. And then I'm going to put the fire out to close this show out. I'm going to extinguish everyone's little bandwagon favorite this year, and that's the New Orleans Saints, set at 7.5. If you believe the New Orleans Saints can eclipse that number, I don't know what you're thinking. Tyler Shuck is okay. And the argument for him would be, well, he played really well down the stretch. Oh, okay. So when most teams were getting ready for the playoffs, he played better. It's great. The Saints drafted Jordan Tyson. He's going to be out for the first 2 months. Alvin Kamara is out. Nobody on the Saints defense is a guy that I circle. That's the guy to watch each and every single week. They don't have true playmakers. They don't have difference makers on both sides of the ball. Should I remind you of Chris Olave's injury history, his medical history, blood clots last year. Alvin Kamara, as I mentioned, already hurt. Jordan Tyson, as I mentioned, already hurt. So you're leaving it in the hands of Chris Olave, Jawan Johnson, and at running back, who I'll give them credit for signing, Travis Etienne away from the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's not enough. That doesn't move the needle. I am completely out on the Saints. I think they not only come in there under, I think they finish last in the NFC South. I think they are a team looking at a top 5, top 10 draft pick this year. Completely out on the New Orleans Saints. That's going to do it for the very first episode of The Audible with Mike Pendleton. I want to thank each and every single one of you who listen. Subscribe, please, to the Under the Hood Network. And make sure to follow me on social media at XMP2310, as well as the Instagram, IG, Mike P2310. You can keep up to date on all my work and where you can find me through social media. Again, want to thank Jonathan Hood for the opportunity to join this network. We will be here every Tuesday and Thursday. And I promise you, buckle up. You see NFL DBs do it all the time. Buckle up, because this is the Audible, and we're going for a ride. For everyone at Under the Hood Network and Jonathan Hood, I am Mike Pendleton. Appreciate you all listening, watching. Subscribe, like, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. What are your favorite team totals this year? And did the Browns get it wrong? Let me know. We will see you guys on Thursday. This is the Audible. I'm Mike Pendleton. We'll see you then.